Okay, welcome everyone. Let me know if you can't hear me. All right. So, welcome to Get Over Your Toxic Relationships and Glow Up times 10. We're going to really glow up. And I thought because spring is coming and it's still the beginning of the year, right? We're still the year is young, let's say that, and it's time to just clear out and glow up. I telling a lot of my clients are in their glow up era, and like I'm here for it, and so I want that for you. So we're gonna go over some tips on how to do that, regulating your nervous system, self-concept, identity shifts, and how to really do it, and not just be like, okay, I'm glowing up, and then like a week later you fall off. And it is about committing to yourself and staying consistent. So I am going to help you do that. And I'm thinking about going live, for a while now to help you with your glow up journey. So let me know if that's something that you're interested in. And okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we want to do, if we're glowing up, we are becoming a new version of ourselves. And that means we're reacting and responding to things in a different way. How we do that on the most fundamental level is to regulate our nervous system, because if we're reacting and responding from our nervous system. So the first thing we want to do is rewire and regulate the nervous system. So the things that used to piss you off, the things you used to get triggered by, or that would make you anxious or depressed, or any kind of negative state that you don't want to be in, no longer do that to you. You're operating from a state of peace, love, joy, like those states, but mostly peace, right? We want to be at that state because that's where we can make the best decisions that are, instead of being in like a survival anxious type of energy, we're making decisions and we're responding to life instead of being in this reactive mode all the time. So we want to regulate our nervous system all the time. So this is where breath work comes in. A lot of you guys know who Wim Hof is. If you don't, look, he has an app, or there's a bunch of different breathing apps, but I always say it's so basic. You don't have to do anything fancy or getting fancy tools or take a bunch of like fancy courses. You have to breathe anyway. It's free, and so you might as well do it correctly and in a way that's going to reduce your cortisol levels. So, and I do recommend getting apps because they have reminders and there's different techniques. But the two that I recommend are box breathing when you want to calm yourself down and reduce cortisol levels. And what that is just an inhale in for 3 or 4 seconds, and then you exhale out for 3 or 4 seconds. Inhale in, and then you imagine a box as you inhale and exhale. Oh, and then you also, as you inhale, you hold and then exhale. And then you could hold for 3 or 4 seconds. And then as you get better at this, you can deepen or lengthen the time that you inhale, hold the breath, exhale, hold the breath. And so that's a great way to reduce cortisol levels. And then if you need energy, in yoga, it's called lion's breath. So what you're going to do is inhale, take a big inhale from your diaphragm, and then exhale, and then push, use your abdomen muscles and press them towards your spine in a kind of sharp way, like Tony Robbins does this a lot too, and I think he calls it something else. You take a big breath in, exhale out that way, and big breath in. Andrew Huberman does this too, but that really gets you up and going without being like overly caffeinated or depending, especially if you are trying to get off caffeine, which a lot of people are doing because it can mess with your adrenals and it does affect women differently than men in a negative way. So if you want to, that's a good one to do in the morning to get things flowing and moving. And so, and this is also important because this is about getting rid of toxic relationships and glowing up and thriving. And we know it's been scientifically proven that the quality of your relationships directly affects the quality of your life. So you want to have the highest and best relationships as possible. And that doesn't mean that, let's say you're in partnership, or like something with you. It's not like you're like, okay, fuck off, you're pissing me off. It's not that. It's like, okay, if there's a conflict going on, how can I have healthy conflict resolution? So that is different. We all need to learn healthy conflict resolution, and that's an ever-evolving thing because we have a growth mindset. You can't have healthy relationships without a growth mindset. When I'm talking about toxic relationships, is something that's abusive, that's not serving you in any way. You're repeating old patterns from the past, and they could be childhood patterns like, oh, yes, I was neglected. I had to suffer to get a little bit of love because I was breadcrumbed all the time, or I had to be perfect and I always had to perform. I was parentified, so I had to take care. I was a parentified child, so I had to take care of my parents. Things like that. We want to release those toxic patterns because they show up in adulthood. What you don't heal from the past, and we all have things that we need to heal and work on, will show up in your most intimate relationships and your closest relationships. So that's your romantic relationships, your relationships with your family, and your relationships in the work environment really mirror baggage that you're carrying. So we want to be in a place where we're going to release those toxic relationships, but we don't attract them again. So it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm breaking up with my narcissist boyfriend, or I'm getting a divorce from my narcissist wife, but we don't want to just do that and then still have that thing inside of us that needs to be healed. So we're releasing the patterns, and we're operating from a higher level of consciousness, and we're vibrating at a higher level, so we're not attracting those things into our life anymore, in our work, with family, and in our romantic relationships. So regulating your nervous system is important for that reason, because we attract, like, on an unconscious level, we are attracted to toxic people, the narcissist, or any type of other, I'm just going to say toxic, but people with personality disorders, abusive people. And those people could feel it in our nervous system that we have that wounding that they could prey upon. And so we want to get rid of that. And another way that you must do, so I went over the breathing, that you must do to regulate your nervous system is sleep. And a lot of times we have trouble sleeping when you're in a or when you're in a relationship with a narcissist. They don't want you to sleep. They'll wake you up in the middle of the night. They'll keep you up. They're very dysregulated anyway. So a lot of times if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, they don't sleep a lot. That's why. So, but they're always trying to dysregulate your nervous system, and not being able to sleep is another way to do that. In a lot of abusive relationships, one of the tactics that they use is sleep deprivation. So your mind isn't working properly. You're doing things and agreeing to things you don't want to agree to. So we want to regulate our nervous system, even if it's little by little. Like going to sleep on time, or at a healthy hour, so that's probably before 10, is not only really good for regulating your cortisol levels and every other thing in your body, your organ function, but it's a form of self-care and self-love and self-respect. And I'm not just talking about getting in bed and then binge watching and doing all this stuff, or eating like anything. No, I'm talking about putting yourself to sleep. And that's also a wonderful way to reparent ourselves. I often say that, and it's just true. I just repeat it to my clients, but what I mean by say that. But when you get into adulthood, then you start reparenting yourself, because we all have things from childhood that weren't great. And instead of repeating those patterns, we reparent ourselves. So maybe you grew up with not feeling safe at night, or your parents fighting at night, or whatever kept you up. And now in your adult life, you attract certain reasons not to sleep. We are healing all that. We're releasing it. And sometimes it's just saying, I release that. I don't, unless people want to, but I still like moderate. I don't like to just dwell on the past. We identify things, we create awareness around things so we can heal it and let it go. Because if we hold on to it, we get angry, sad, and in victim states. So you want to be aware of what's going on and release it. So we're going to breathe and sleep and then eat. So the eating, also because it's such a acceptable way to numb out and abuse a substance, I often recommend intermittent fasting because it helps you sleep better. And when I intermittent fast, I stop eating at minimum like 5 hours before bed. Often, you could have breakfast, lunch, skip breakfast, and then do lunch, dinner, or just have one meal. But it is, and our body is set up to fast. We're not set up to have food, like access to food all the time. So that's another thing I really recommend for regulating your nervous system. And then also, um, things that are very good for regulating your nervous system are journaling. And there is something about, they've done studies where if you write out what you're thinking, it helps. If you can, if you just want to type, fine, but journaling in some form, they have wonderful apps for that now, is a great way to just process your feelings. Obviously, working with someone like a therapist or a coach like me or a support group, even if it's something like Al-Anon, AA, or ACA, just any kind of support system that you can do for yourself on a regular basis. But breathing correctly, sleeping and eating, and of course, getting enough water, that's also very good for your nervous system. So I'm just going to remind you of that. Let's start there. Um, because when you're in toxic relationships, you're so dysregulated, you're so anxious, you're walking on eggshells. So we are going to commit to being in a new state of peace and relaxation because that's where the magic happens. And let's see. And like I said, I don't like to dwell on what went wrong, right? But we need to do that. So the next step is an awareness of how you attracted this into your life. Now, it could be, and it's usually from a place of scarcity and in survival mode. So it's like I was so desperate to be in a relationship. I was so desperate to have a child, or I just really needed this job and I had fears around money. So and this person was willing to help me with that, or this person promised me the world and I, just rushed into whatever it is. What was it that the perceived lack? What was it that you felt like you didn't have that you could get from this job, or family member or romantic partner? What was it what was the promise, or what was it that you felt was so lacking inside you that you were attempting to get from this relationship? Just to have an awareness of it, because in order to break those patterns and never ever again get in or attract that type of thing, we have to know we just have to have the awareness. So, when let's say you get out of this toxic job, and in order to not attract the same exact dynamic, it's like, okay, this is what it was. Oh, I have this pattern I was repeating that I do in my family system. Esther Perel always says that we take our emotional dowry, like our familial dowry that we grew up, like our childhood trauma, whatever, and we bring it into the workplace, and that's unresolved. So you want to just be able to look at that so it's in your awareness. If it's all up in your subconscious, it's taking over. And then we just have that awareness, and then we can move on to the next stage of the relationship. Let me just make sure that, oh, and one thing in the awareness stage, you could ask yourself, like, what are your subconscious beliefs? Like, what were things that you were told, negative beliefs, false beliefs that you were told that you might be carrying around as a belief that's not serving you? And it's usually coming from a place of scarcity. And and then also, do you have the belief that things have to be that way, that relationships involve suffering, that I have to like you get breadcrumbed, or that you have to work so hard and give so much of yourself to get a little bit? These are things that you get to look at, because I'm telling you, you get to have it all and it gets to be easy. It does not have to be hard. You don't have to suffer all the time for everything. You don't have to completely like blow out your nervous system like that. That's not the point of living and being alive. Because again, we're not in survival mode. We are thriving. Um, and the next is to decide. So we have an awareness, we know what we want to change, and sometimes that decision comes from a rock bottom place, like, fuck this. I am not doing this anymore. I'm fucking sick of it. You go from dreaming like, oh, I wish I had that type of situation or whatever, to getting so upset that it's like, I cannot live like this anymore. Good, great. I want you to decide to let go of your limiting beliefs that we just went over, all of those things about, oh, you can't do any better than this, or things have to be art. I don't, other people have relationships that like that, but I never get what. No, all of those things are over. If you want to be treated like a queen in your relationship, which if you are the feminine energy in a relationship, I hope you do. I hope you're wanting to and are embodying that complete divine feminine energy, and your counterpart is treating you as such, and then because that creates a good, we need polarity. Polarity is where relationships thrive. Whether you're gay, straight, doesn't matter. We need the polarity. We need the divine feminine and the divine masculine. Um, and then that's how things get into a nice flow state in our relationships. So we're letting go of limiting beliefs, and you're deciding to, like, what are your new standards? This is my favorite thing to do with clients. What are your new standards? What does every area of your life look like now? Your health, wealth, relationships, career. And this goes into boundaries. So if your new standards are, I work out 5 days a week for at least 30 minutes, then that means that someone else's needs or work doesn't get in the way. You are going to work out for that time in the morning, for 30 minutes on your Peloton, whatever that is. And no one, that time is uninterrupted. Your phone's off, everything. That's a standard and a boundary that you created. And that creates a new identity. So everyone starts to realize, like, oh, I can't, it's 8 o'clock. Yeah, she's offline right now. And then people just, you teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you through how you treat yourself, through your actions and your standards and your boundaries that you uphold for yourself. And that is keeping your impersonal integrity. So when, you know, a lot of times, and I had this issue big time for the longest time, I would get so upset, like I would abandon myself and do things for other people, like really overextend myself. And so because I wanted them to not abandon me, and I thought, like, if I just overgive, then they'll just love me and never leave me, and just think I'm so great. And then you get resentful because you're wearing yourself thin. And then because I was doing that, I was teaching people how to treat me. And then I didn't realize, like, well, how come they're not, how come they're just disrespecting my time or what? Because I wasn't respecting my time. I was abandoning myself. So we have to have those standards for ourselves. And I would get so upset when someone didn't keep their word or would reschedule or just like cancel something on me. But I was constantly doing that to myself. I would be like, okay, yes, I'm committing to, finishing this program and by this date, and I'm working out every day and this. And then if something came up, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I just abandoned myself. And then get pissed when someone did that to me. Well, so you get to keep your integrity with yourself. And when you do, then the people that honor and respect your time will do the same thing. Um, and like, what are your boundaries? People that are abusive, I see this a lot with narcissists. They like start shitting on your boundaries. Oh, all you have are boundaries. Or what is that about? Like, and then, but they're always trying to push your boundaries. And boundaries aren't this like cold wall, because toxic people make you feel like that because they can't have access to you and drain you and manipulate you. If you have boundaries, you can't be manipulated. If you have boundaries, your standards can't be compromised. So, and boundaries are not like this steel wall, they're a door. Your boundaries are not a wall, they are a door, and they're a door that allows more of the things you want in love, peace, financial prosperity, all the things you want more of, like radiant health. But they keep out things that you don't want, right? Because you have control over the door. You lock it when you want and you let things in, but they let in the good things, the things that are helping you grow, the things that are helping you expand in good ways, things that are making your life better in every way. So remember, boundaries are not a wall, they're a door. Um, and then the next phase is incorporating that, the identity shift. So we are shifting into this new version of ourselves. How exciting. So you write down all the things, your new boundaries and standards, and like think about, what does that person look like? You have your this body composition, and you have this type of partner, and you have this much money in your bank account, and you have this type of career and all of the things. Okay, that is the new version of yourself. That is the glow up. That is what we're going for. What does that look and feel like? And like we want to embody that identity shift. There's a wonderful book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's changed so many people's lives. And it is about self-concept and shifting your self-concept. And when you shift your self-concept, your world shifts because how you see yourself, like if you're the main character in your life, how you see yourself in your world, like the world is going to respond to that, and you're going to feel a certain way and carry yourself a certain way. So, what does that new identity look like? And I want to do a little like meditation activation, like visualization type of thing with you right now, so you can save this and come back to this spot. And I want you to do this in the morning and at night because that is when the subconscious mind is the most susceptible to receiving new ideas and incorporating them in as the truth when you're in bed about to fall asleep and then when you wake up. So I want you to do this now with me, but I want you to continue to do this as time goes by. And you could do it throughout the day as well, but just in the morning and at night are the best times. Okay, so go ahead and close your eyes. And then just relax all the muscles in your body, just from your all the muscles in your face, down your shoulders, arms, breathing in a relaxed way, all the way down waist, legs, your feet are relaxed. Let it all relax right now, breathing deeply, and we're going to continue to breathe deeply. And then bringing in that version of yourself that we discussed. How do they look? How does that person behave? Like, what's their disposition in general? Are they operating from a state of anxiety or peace? Are they laughing a lot? Do they move through life in a relaxed, confident way? What does it look like? How are you dressed? And I want you to feel that and become it. I want you to exhale and breathe away any thoughts that are like, oh God, I'm never going to get there. Let that go. That's your inner critic trying to come in and sabotage. And I want you to say goodbye, like let go, stop. And just see how that person feels, look and feel. And then if you can't, like now you're looking at it like you're watching a movie, now start to embody that. So you're in that body. And what are you doing? How are you with your partner? And I just want you to feel how good that feels. Just take a moment, ignore everything in your outside world right now. The past is the past. Just be present right now with this new version of yourself and let yourself feel how good that feels to be in that body, to be in that state of mind, to be that relaxed and happy and peaceful, whatever it is. Energetic. Breathe into it, breathe into it, breathe into it. And exhale out any limiting beliefs, any doubts, any thoughts, and breathe into it, how that feels. And then I want you to be really grateful for it. So the last thing we're going to do is be like, thank you. Thank you for this amazing life that I have. Thank you, universe, God, just thank you. And also thank yourself. Thank you. And then say your name for this life that I've created for myself and like this body that I get to move around in and all the money I have in my bank accounts and my amazing career and my amazing partner and my amazing life. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Breathe it in and exhale out. So you're going to do some version of that every day when you're going to sleep, as you're falling asleep, and then in the morning. And then, let that, I want whatever you give the most attention to and the most energy to expands in your life. So we are going to think about that and feel into that as often as possible. Every cell in your body is responding to your thoughts and emotions. This is why this works. This is why they're finally releasing all of the studies about when you think about whatever you think about and can feel into, you could actually change your physical state for better or for worse. People that are so worried about cancer are more prone to get cancer, regardless of genetics or what runs in your family, all of that. It's the epigenetics that can affect things. And the same thing, if you follow Joe Dispenza, this is what he does for a living. Like in a weekend, he does these things where he brings people in these really concentrated states of meditation. And then people are like getting cured of these, health things that have been, plaguing them for decades. So it is not to be, and I know our pharmaceutical medical industry is trying to suppress all of this, but your mind is so powerful. There's another excellent book that I would love you to read on repeat called The Magic of Believing. And it has all these studies in it and just like, and it was written in a time where people didn't even know neuroscience like this. And it shows how if you can change your mental state and your self-concept, then the world around you will change. What you think about yourself and what you focus on the most, you create in your life. Um, and also, another thing I want to say about that is like, start to embody that. What does that person look like? I tell my clients a lot because I also work with clients on like executive presence and presenting yourself in a way that is palatable to people and where you're getting your point across. And don't touch your, like, don't, oh, I'm so stressed. Like, you know what I mean? And we unconsciously do it. I have a friend that like every time he's stressed, he's like this or when he's not telling the truth. And I'm like, you look like you're erasing your memory, which I know is what he's doing. So be very careful of your body language. Don't go like this if you're trying to engage with someone. Have open body language. Have your shoulders over your hips, whether you're sitting or standing. Don't hunch over. Even if I saw this picture of I forget her name, George Clooney's wife, Amal. Um, and she's so beautiful. And I guess like in heels, she's like a little bit taller than him. And then I'm like, she's so hunched over. And I'm like, she would be even like 10x more gorgeous. Like just stand up straight. I don't, so it's kind of like, I don't care what the situation is. I don't, like a lot of people have things about around their height. Stand up straight, be proud. It's the energy and the aura. And like, you know what is so like not contagious, like that's not the word, like alluring and magnetic is confidence. People love confidence. People are drawn to confidence. Why? Because it makes you feel safe. And that's why when people are confident, they could, I mean, even if they're totally fucking wrong, and that, I've seen it time and time again, they can convince people to do things because they are so confident in what they're saying. And a lot of people either don't have that so they look for another people, or the brain does register it as like safe when you're like, I am so sure. I'm dead ass sure that this shirt is black. So yeah, you know what I mean? Like that level of being certain about yourself. And I would also say that, like incorporate that into your self-concept, being confident and sure of yourself. You can admit you're wrong. If you have problems admitting you're wrong, okay, well, we can get into that. That's another story. But you can admit you're a very confident person's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong about that. I didn't know that. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. And it makes people trust you more when you can admit that you're wrong. So that's okay. But we're coming from a place of confidence, very different than arrogance. Arrogance is based in fear. So if and you could feel it from people when they're arrogant. It's like, oof, it has this tense, icky feeling. So we're not doing that. We're coming from a confident, calm, relaxed place. And when we're relaxed, when your nervous system is relaxed, one, your immune system can work a lot better. Two, your body isn't tense. We get aches and pains and like back and because we are tense because our cortisol levels are high. So if we're coming from a relaxed, peaceful place, we can also think in a more clear way. You want to make decisions from a place of peace and thriving, not in survival mode, anxiety, like this needs to get done, da 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 da. And that's another part of it is, we're going to respect our time and other people's time in this mode because and that's another part of survival mode is like, I'm anxious all the time. And I know a lot of people, and some of them are really successful, and they are like, oh, well, I just thrive in chaos and I thrive under pressure and all this stuff. And like, okay, yes, they're being under a certain, like a healthy amount of pressure is good, but like thriving under chaos all the time and like, oh my God, I'm late for this. I got to do this. And everyone, and then making everyone else around you like that is highly manipulative. And like, a lot of those people, have narcissistic tendencies if you have a boss or someone like that. And it's a way to see because narcissistic people want to know that you will bend at their whim. And so that's a good way to create. It's like, what? No, I had this deadline. I had this. Well, you can do things differently. So we don't want to be like that either. And we want to respect our own time. There's a different like aura and glow to people that like respect themselves. You're like, damn. And that's why, especially if you're in your divine feminine, if you're a woman or you're the divine or the feminine part of a relationship, in general, or you embody the feminine, that is like the masculine will respond and be attracted to you respecting yourself. You respect your time, you respect your body, you respect, so like you don't just, like, again, this is like more for dating, but you don't take last minute invites. You're not rushing around when you're not like late to things and like, oh, that's such like princess. I have like this thing like, no, I'm not princess, like what's it called? Peasant. I call it peasant energy. It's like you're like scurrying around. Like think about it this way. Um, like someone that's an authority figure, like the president, our kings and queens, they walked slowly and purposefully and confidently. The peasants were the ones like, oh, we can't be late. We can't be like, and so you get to be in your divine masculine, alpha male, or divine feminine energy, which is calm, confident, respects your time, respects your own time, doesn't res and respects other people's times. Okay, other people's time. Um, and let's see what else. The other thing is when we're talking about glowing up, and it could happen like that. You know, your life is like one decision away sometimes, like from changing. One decision away. So, and you can collapse time and you could collapse time. And what I'm saying is like things don't need to take this. If you want them to take a long time, they will. You know, I was telling a client that the other day. She's like, oh, everything I've done in life, it takes long. That's the past, babe. Like that doesn't need to always be the case. So you can collapse time and you can achieve your goals as fast or as slow as you want. I know you've heard the expression, a task will take, it will inflate and expand or shrink the amount of time it will take depending on like what the deadline is. So if you're like really fed up and you're ready, it's like, let's go. It can happen that way. And again, your cells in your body are responding to your thoughts and emotions. So it's like, okay, let's upregulate our metabolism. Let's do all these things. Let's get going. We have more energy now. We're full of life. And like you want to keep that momentum. So, and having a mentor does help collapse time. It really does. Having a support group helps collapse time. And we want to get rid of people that don't support us. And sometimes we have friends that maybe they're well-meaning, but it's threatening to them that you're starting to glow up because it's bringing out their insecurities. And it's like, why am I not doing this? So also I want to say is be selective with whom you share your energy with whom you share your goals with. And you might want to keep them close to your heart until things start to manifest. And just be careful when you're, at the nascent stages of doing something new, and really like going after your goals and something that's so important to you. You don't have to share all of those things with everyone. Share them with people that you know are going to be like, your real ride or dies. And sometimes people can't, and even like, I've had like ride or die that they just like are threatened when I've glowed, gotten better in certain area. And that will happen. That will happen where you start to shift energetically, you start to level up and glow up, and certain people you'll attract that, like, because like attracts like, so you'll attract higher and better and newer people, places, things, opportunities, circumstances. But sometimes people that you never thought would, hate or like drop off just do because energetically you've shifted. And that's okay. They can circle back, they might circle back, but just be okay letting them go because you don't want to start to have like feel like you have to shrink down around certain people. So keeping that thing. And that's the other thing about the it's okay thing, is that yeah, you get to be unbothered. I want you to get, and that's under the state of peace. What is peace? To me, the definition of peace is like feeling very unbothered, feeling very relaxed, having radiant health, financial prosperity, nurturing relationships. That's all under the definition of peace for me. And what I try to extend to my clients and students is like that, because that's what I want for you guys. Anyone that's, consuming my content or that's a client of mine. I want you to be in that state as often as possible. So you can really be, it's not like this, oh, I don't care, like kind of energy, which is like, you do. You care, babe. You care because you're acting like that. And it's just like you can even like laugh at some stuff. I love when I get to a point with my clients where they're talking about the past, especially if it's something like a toxic ex, and we're just totally cracking up about it. like, or it's just like, just the energy is so unbothered, or they try to, that ex tried to get back into their life and it was like, "Pff, okay, whatever. It wasn't like this. "Oh, I'm so dysregulated." Now, if you are just like, honor that, like, be in that, like, allow yourself to feel those things, comfort yourself, regulate yourself. But just know the more you do this work and the more that you commit to yourself and stay committed to yourself, that like these things won't bother you. You will completely literally shift into that version of yourself so quickly. And then the other thing I want to say about like certain people dropping off or getting threatened by you staying small, or leveling up and not staying small, is that like because I have some clients sometimes that are like, religious or spiritual, and then people in their spiritual community or like family members will be like, "Oh, well, that's, you know what? Your higher power, whoever your God is, does not want you to be poor, does not want you to be in a miserable relationship, does not want you to be unhealthy." I can tell you that at least the type of people that I attract into my realm, like your higher power, your God universe wants you to thrive and have the healthiest, like wealthiest, most abundant, loving relationships and like life possible. And if I always say this, but I'm going to keep saying it on repeat till it sinks into your, like repetition, like neuroscience, like creating new neural pathways comes from repetition. So sometimes people are like, "Why you keep repeating yourself?" So you understand it, so you finally believe it. And I love it. I see it in my clients sometimes where it's like, integrated. I love it. They're like, "Oh, damn, yeah." So I'm going to say it again. Your desires are divinely placed in your heart for you. They're yours. They're not mine. You want that thing. You want that certain whatever because they are meant for you. And of course, everyone, we have to have, everyone wants radiant health, and most people want like a certain amount of money. Yeah, because we need those things to function, right? So, because like sometimes the counterpoint is, well, okay, I want $1 million. Everyone want, yeah, because you can do more things. Money's just an amplifier, so you could be more of you if you do that, and you could have more freedom and you could experience life more. So, yeah, of course. But also, we want our health and we want certain things in our relationships. But there are like, maybe you just love sewing or you love dancing and you want whatever it is. So, and I'm saying something like that because it could be, it doesn't have to be anything like, "Oh, I have to do this serious thing where I'm, curing cancer or whatever." Or maybe you want to cure cancer. Whatever it is that's in your heart, that's burning in your heart, is meant for you and it is meant for you to live out. Just start. It doesn't matter what anyone else says or how it looks or even how you like think about it. I've had many times like, creating and developing my private practice where I'm like, "Oh, what am I doing?" It's okay to have the "what am I doing" moments. It is part of the process and it will pass. Let's see what else I have in my notes for here. Let's see. Guilt about putting yourself first. So I get questions about that because you, part of your self-concept, we want to be the main character and the director of our movie, of our life. And sometimes for like cultural reasons or just how someone was raised, it's like, I feel guilty for putting myself first. Maybe when you did when you were younger, you got in trouble. Maybe you were a parentified child where you had to take care of everyone. And so your brain was programmed to like never put your needs first because that meant danger. Maybe you were, abused when you put yourself first, or maybe during what's called the individuation phase, which happens when you're a teenager. Your parents didn't like you trying to be an individual. It could happen for so many reasons, right? But you get to make yourself a priority. You have to. You have to make yourself your number one priority, no matter, and I don't care if you have like 13 kids, you get to put yourself first because every part of your life is going to function better when you put yourself first. It just is. So, and when we don't, we start to get resentful, we start to get like unhealthy, things get stifled, like our life force gets stifled off. Like, and I'm talking like everything's energy, right? So you can't make as much money. Your health can't be as great as you want it to be. Your relationships can't be if you want it to be. If you're always like overgiving, if you're, and we can't pour from an empty cup, right? So we can't do that. That's like it's the same, like you don't want to be in any type of energetic debt. So we need to pour into ourselves first and make ourselves a priority. End of story. End of story. And I know it's difficult sometimes, but when you start to train your brain and really commit to yourself, like, okay, this is part of me being in my integrity. Me being in my integrity, you get to decide, I'm going to be in my personal integrity by always showing up for myself first, and then I could show up for everyone else. And I'm telling you, your family will know. Like after a while, they'll be like, okay, she needs to do her thing, and then she'll tend to our needs. Like, all of the things. You have to put yourself first, whatever that is, to make yourself, if you need your alone time. I don't know what it is for you because it's different for everyone, but you get to put yourself first. I do think it should involve like, doing things for your health, exercise, things like that. Um, let's see. I think I went over everything. And the other thing is, okay, in terms of getting rid of toxic relationships that I get a lot of questions around is how do I, like when they circle back and I have on my YouTube for sure, like what to do when the toxic person circles back because they always do. It has nothing to do with you. They want ego validation. They want to see you suffer. Like people that are toxic, narcissists, they get pleasure out of you suffering. Sociopaths as well, to a deeper level, to a deeper or greater degree. You get to stand your ground because they're trying to, if they're circling back, they're like, okay, I know that fantasy that she wanted because I remember when I was gaslighting her, or she's told me so many times when we were together, like what it is like that you want. And so don't believe them. We're leaving the past in the past. And that's the other thing. The past is over. It's over, darling. And we don't look back, especially when you're creating a new self concept. The one thing that could sabotage you the most is like, oh, but it's always been this way and I can't. And history can only repeat itself if you allow it to. Okay. So stop allowing it. And you stop allowing it by like letting your inner critic run the show and like, oh, it's always been this. No. Okay. The past is over. From this moment on, the past is over. Let the past go. It does not have to affect you unless you let it. Okay? Go ahead, like Men in Black your ass, like yourself, like Men in Black, your, like whatever you need to do. Release the past from yourself. Let it go. It's over. And that's why I'm saying, or that's why I was saying I don't spend a lot of time talking about the past with my clients or because it's kind of like, all right, like I'm an adult now, so I can reparent myself and take care of my inner children in that way. But that's now in the moment. You give yourself things in the moment that you wanted when you were a child. That's good reparenting. That's healing in the moment. But we don't want to continuously focus on the past or even like just old toxic people from the past. It's like no, and I've made that mistake many times. It's kind of like um and you might be like this too if you have a growth mindset. It's like the people from your past come back and you're like, oh, well, maybe they've grown because I've done so whatever. No, no, it's not. They're the same. Like, I personally have like reconnected or like months ago with two people from my past. They're doing worse. They're doing worse. And I'm like, what? And I don't want that for anyone. And it's hard for me because of what I do all day. And, I help people stay committed to their growth. And of course, that means I'm doing the same for myself. So, but there are people that are just stuck in their patterns. They're addicted to their patterns and they're not going to change. And I don't want you around them. Let them go. Let them live and operate at their level of consciousness. You're going somewhere. Just rise up. Maybe they'll meet you there, but in the meantime, you're not letting them affect your evolution at all. Let me see if I have any more questions. I think that's it. So, if you want to, I mean, if you want to learn more about, especially my course on narcissism, recovering from narcissistic abuse, and toxic relationships and thriving. That's all what I do. Like I sometimes I get worried about making content about narcissism, but because I don't want to stay in that state of like always talking, I just want you to be informed and aware and then heal. I'm focused on the thriving part of it. So that course is about that. You just get the awareness, and then everything is a ton of neurological reprogramming tools for you to rewire your brain to thrive and have the best relationships in every area of your life. And when I take clients through that course, they're like, oh my God, there's so many tools. Yes, you have a library now. You have a literal library that you can have literally at your fingertips. And then, sometimes this neurological reprogramming tool helps, and sometimes you like this one. There are things that I think you should do on a regular basis, breathing, taking care of your body, sleeping, meditating if you can. It's just a great way. Meditation can take 3 minutes. It's not this big, long deal. Like we just did one. Do that meditation, visualization that is in this video, but you're committing to your growth. So, do that. If you want more information on anti-inflammatory diets, losing weight through an anti-inflammatory diet, I have Keto Zen. First part is just the basics, like grocery list. There's a thing like if you're dining out, like a dining out guide for every genre of food. And just like all of the basics that you need, but then it gets into the mindset and like literally reprogramming your brain to upregulate your metabolism to get the body composition and health that you want. That's Keto Zen. And both of those are in the link that is in my bio if you're watching on YouTube. And yes, so that's where it is. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I'm also available for one-on-one coaching. And when I do that, I'm really focused. We have sessions and then we're talking every day. So it's a deep commitment to yourself. All right, I will see